Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining our last session of today's Tech Showcase. Just as a reminder, we do have that chat box. Make sure to drop your LinkedIn. Let us know where you're tuning in from. We'd love to connect. Next, we have that Q&A box. Let us know if you have any questions, and we'll be sure to get to them at the end. And now I will hand it on over to Zach and Casey.
Thanks, Bridget. Hello and welcome. Happy Friday. We're excited, Casey and I are excited to present to you today about how CivicScience is thinking about agile research and how we're delivering executive-ready insights constantly, day after day, to some of the biggest companies in the world. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started with a quick video.
The world is a place of constant change. Cultural trends, the economy, politics, social media. Our attitudes are evolving every second based on our experiences, daily events, and the content we see. Brands that fail to acknowledge the role these factors play in consumer behavior are not getting the full picture. Nobody needs another fleeting glimpse of something that happened a month ago. To make the smartest bets on the future, brands need to know what changes are happening now, what's causing them, and what's coming next. Meet the CivicScience 360 report. You need complete, timely views of trends and shifts in consumer attitudes, lifestyle, and intent. We've got that. You want to predict consumer behavior to power forward-looking strategies and marketing investments? We can do that. You need to feel confident in making faster decisions so you can gain a unique competitive edge. We can do that too, and alert you to trends as they happen so you never miss an opportunity or threat. The CivicScience 360 report provides customer-centric companies with a living, breathing picture of the modern consumer. Schedule your demo today at CivicScience.com.
It's always nice when audio and video work. So thank you for watching our quick commercial. We wanted to give you a little flavor for what we're doing at CivicScience, and hopefully that did that. The 360 report is one of our newer product innovations that really focuses on innovation and insights delivered very quickly and in real time. So we're excited to launch that last November. So as we think about agile research, and we even think about just what's happening in the insights and market research and even marketing environment right now, there's a lot going on. A lot of headwinds from economic fallout that's leading to smaller budgets and is leading to layoffs, slimmer teams, a lot to get done. These are some of the things that we've been hearing over the last several months from our insights and marketing clients. And I actually just got off the phone with a colleague that's in the industry too. And he's like, "Are you hearing some of these things?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm actually getting ready to give a presentation on it in a few minutes." So, we're hearing things like we don't have a seat at the table. And the best way to have a seat at the table is to be able to be proactive, right? Bring proactive insights. But so much of what, unfortunately, consumer insights get hit with is a lot of being reactive. They're waiting for the next question to come down because they're just constantly coming down the pipe from senior management or other internal client teams, not leaving a lot of room to be proactive. So agile tools and suppliers are going to help, be more proactive. There's not enough time to get everything done. There's a lack of resources because of budget cuts and headcount. Looking for strong quality data and accuracy continues to be an issue. There's a lot of fraud and different things in the panel data industry. I know a lot of people are frustrated with that. Thankfully, we don't rely on panel data at CivicScience. So that's something that and is a draw for a lot of our clients to come to us. Navigating economic conditions, everybody's still on the fence. Are we going to have a recession? Are we not? Is it going to be a soft landing? And right now we're kind of stuck in purgatory between the two. I think we just need it to break one way or another so we know how to move forward. And hopefully we get some clearance in the next several months so that we can know how to move forward one way or another. The other thing we constantly hear is, how do I show a return on insight, as we like to say? And that's really being able to show how those insights led to outcomes, right? Successful outcomes. And you can't have successful outcomes just by providing 100-slide PowerPoint presentations of data and saying, go figure it out. And that's why we're very clear at CivicScience when we deliver insights and we deliver actionable recommendations on how to move forward, that you can actually tie that back to having a return on insight. And the last couple are having outdated data and insights, therefore making very bad strategic decisions because you're looking in the rears. And that's something that, we can get more real-time data up to the minute with how quickly everything's changing, not just economically, but politically, socially. You can be able to have a more holistic view of the consumer and therefore make smarter decisions. And then lastly, missing opportunity due to slow data and analysis. So much asking research, even listening research today is slow to get you reports. They need a week, they need 2 weeks, some need 6 weeks, right? Gone are the days of, the big $300,000 segmentation studies that you have to throw out, a quarter or two later. Gone are the days of being able to deliver brand trackers 4 weeks after the quarter ends and figure out how to make sense of that in terms of how you invest in media and different marketing activities. And that's why we believe that agile research, AI is only going to fuel agile research going forward. It's going to help really fix a lot of these 8 problems that we constantly hear from all of the prospects that we speak to that end up becoming clients of ours. So how do we think about agile research? I'm sure you've heard a lot of great presentations from amazing companies today that are on the forefront of providing agile research. And everybody has their different opinion on what agile research actually means. At CivicScience, we uniquely sit at the intersection of agile research and strong strategic outcomes. So we're not just dumping data on your desk for you guys to figure it out. We're working with you as a partner through our platform and through our managed service team to be able to provide reliable real-time data paired with very strong technology and executive-ready results that you can feel very confident in taking to your executive same day or even same hour. And we find that equation leads to strategic, forward-looking, cost-efficient, impactful outcomes. And when we can continue to replicate that day over day, week over week, month over month for you, you will become a powerhouse and have a seat at the table and have larger budgets to work with because of the impact that you're able to provide on the organization. And because we've been able to do that for so many of our clients, we've been fortunate to be able to work with so many of these amazing clients and more on this slide and provide them with data every single day that they rely on. And don't just take my word for it, but we've been able to get clients like the CMO of McDonald say we definitely wouldn't have been able to adapt and thrive through the pandemic without CivicScience. We were tracking the pandemic before anybody else was. It's not uncommon for CivicScience to answer critical business questions within hours, says the CMO of Ally. And Mark Cuban says their ability to predict consumer behavior in media, retail, and even politics has unlimited potential. This is what some of our clients are saying about how we at CivicScience are thinking about agile research and the equation that I had just shared with you. The other thing that we need to consider is that COVID and politics over the last 4 years has changed the game. This world is a very different place than it's ever looked. It's more digital forward than it's ever been because we had to survive and thrive, as brands and as a population during the pandemic. And it put us light years ahead in terms of how we interact with consumers, how consumers interact with each other, and what we need to be able to thinking about from an innovation standpoint if we're on the brand side. And we know this inherently that we need to provide different products, services to our consumers to keep the growth happening. And the growth is slowing on a top line basis. So a lot of our clients are saying, we're no longer focused on the top line. We really need market share of wallet, market share. How do we get more competitive? And they're starting to go back to the drawing board on innovative ways to reach consumers in creative ways, in more authentic ways than just chasing people around the internet and their third-party cookies and spamming them with messages that may or may not resonate. But while we're doing all of those things, the intelligence that's fueling them is still not up to speed. And what I mean by that is so many marketers know that they need all of these insights, but they're continuing to go back to the tried and true methods that are 20, 30 years old, tapping into panel data where those people don't look like the rest of us. They actually don't look like your consumer because they're biased towards different ways. You're working with small sample sizes, outdated data, and yet you're hoping that something changes and you get that innovation that you need to grow the market share, but you're relying on those old ways of methodologies and data sources, which just makes no sense. So you really need to think about new ways, new data sets, new ways to get information. AI is going to change the game, but AI is not everything. You have to have really strong data and be able to mix art and science together. And that's really what we do at CivicScience, hence the name. So we always like to say when we give a presentation, and the time it takes you to watch this presentation, the world around your consumer will change for one reason or another, economically, financially, socially, politically. In some way, something's happening in this world that is going to impact your consumer. And too many brands ask branded questions. What do you think about my brand? What do you think about my competitors? Are you likely to recommend my brand? It's like going to a cocktail party and you meet that person, all they do is talk about themselves. Kind of annoying, right? We like to help you look at the 360 picture of this. Those things matter, how people think about your brand and your competitors and what they would recommend and what their experience is. But you also have to understand it's important to look at how those consumers are being impacted financially, how they view the economy, how they view different social, political, economic, cultural types of questions. And a lot of companies don't take into consideration how social and cultural insights actually have a very large commercial impact on the brand. And if you're looking, look what just happened with Budweiser and what's happening with other brands, because they're not thinking about and not assessing data sets correctly and evaluating the moves that they're making. And it's because they're using outdated methods to make those moves. So we help you make winning bets on the future by staying in real time and being able to look at your consumer, not through a 180-degree lens, but through a 360-degree lens. And so how do we do this? Really, the secret sauce is our scale. We don't use panels, as you've heard me say. We actually have built a really interesting mousetrap over a decade of doing this at CivicScience. We've built a robust publisher network, which is major websites like MSN, BuzzFeed, Slate, hundreds of different publishers that we work with, where we place our widget on their page in a non-intrusive way. It's unbranded. It looks like it's coming from that publisher. And we launch all types of different engagement questions that draw the audience in. And then we're able to ask thousands of questions that live in our syndicated data library called Cascabel. And our clients are able to add in their own custom responses as well. You put all that together, we're able to get millions of data points a day. We're actually collecting on average 3 to 4 million responses a day from tens of millions of consumers. Or tens of thousands of consumers daily. We are able to then take that data and cross all of those different data points together, giving you all kinds of different inputs on what that audience looks like. So one question in our data set, you can cross against 2,000 other questions, giving you a very interesting view of what that person looks like and what that audience looks like. And now you start to test that on an ongoing basis. And because we have this massive data set to be able to test into, and we have this publisher network to be able to launch questions to, we can get you answers to questions in hours, not days or weeks. And we become a trustworthy source to our clients because this data is so tied to US Census in terms of the data shape of our data that we constantly look at. But again, the ability to launch one question and have all of these other questions at the ready gives you that very unique perspective. And we've had clients test research, do research on research, and they go back and they realize that they could have gotten our insights at a fraction of the time, at a fraction of the cost than what they paid for it from going to a different provider with a larger sample size that they have more confidence in, but dynamically different insights in terms of breadth and depth and color and context that they really needed versus just high level, demographic and geographic information. And all of this data lives in this, like I said, this massive database. And on top of that database lives the Insight Store, which Casey's going to show you in a few minutes. And then within that, before I hand it over to Casey, well, the Insight Store is amazing, and you can enter, that store at any time and access all of your data, reports, build out dashboards, do cross tabs, all of those different things. We also are able to do a lot of the things that traditional shops are able to do by leveraging our data in different ways. So we also have a highly regarded managed service team of data scientists and researchers and consultants that are able to leverage our data in a do-it-for-you fashion as needed across all of these different types of projects and methodologies that you might need. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Casey to walk you through a tour of what we call the Insight Store.
Thank you, Zach. I appreciate that. Here is my screen. I'm one of the highly regarded researchers at the company Zach mentions, though I think I'm like mid-tier regard relative to the other. No, I'm kidding. It's very exciting to be here and to talk to you guys. I want to mostly focus in early on showcasing some of the technology as Zach was referencing there, to just kind of show you guys like how we implement what can be, I think, a fairly wide-ranging and, without the kind of proper organization and proper technology behind it, cumbersome data set. Because as you can imagine, when you get 4 million responses per day to a set of existing questions, but you're also adding new questions on an ongoing basis. Plus, we have our team of researchers that are constantly uncovering new things, whether it's for blog content, for syndicated research work, for our reports that we distribute to our clients. There's a lot of moving parts at our organization because we are not one data set that does one thing. We are not a point of sale data set, for example, that's just putting stuff together ahead of earnings reports and things like that. Like, we are looking at the constant ebbs and flows of consumer sentiment and how those ebbs and flows materialize into actual outcomes that impact your business. So what we have done, and what we're really excited about this year, is we are launching what you are seeing right now on your screen. This is called the Insight Store. This is our version 2. We're probably going to come up with a new name for it after this. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. Not my job, but for right now, we will say Insight Store 2 to keep it simple. And what we have done is created a tool that is not like other syndicated data set tools, because instead of kind of funneling people into one area and kind of forcing your way through that way, we want to give folks a launch pad as a beginning place, because the CivicScience Insight Store is utilized for many different things, right? So early on, the main thing we are leveraged for is our question library. But what's really cool about our system, when we talk about how our technology is different than other providers in the industry, is that it's not just a list that you can go in and search. You can either go in and check out the questions that have been customized for your account and your brand. You can look at ones you've already favorited that you go back to relatively often, right? But then you have some cool and exciting features. One is the ability to go in and immediately see what new questions have been added to the system. So some new skincare stuff has been added recently because it's springtime, and we have a lot of retail and beauty clients that want to know what's happening now that people are ready to get back out there, put their face on and, I don't know, get a date. I've been married for a long time. I don't know how that works, but I assume you do that, right? If you're out there trying to find that special someone. We're adding stuff about fashion trends, again, getting ready for spring and summertime and back to school and all that kind of stuff, right? But here's another cool thing that you can do from our Launchpad. You can look at trending. Trending questions are a combination of the new ones we've added, as well as things that are getting highly leveraged across our network. This is a way of almost crowdsourcing what's hot, What is hot with our consumers? What questions do they want to answer? What's hot with clients and users of CivicScience? What are they going back to? Right? So we're seeing a lot of politics stuff, election, denialism, glasses of water, concern about utility prices, streaming platform VIX, lots of different things, all of which are trending either because of a combination of the news, our network, as well as utilization. Right. And then we have some exciting capabilities where you can go and look at different dashboards, whether they are syndicated dashboards that we've put together and dropped into accounts for folks to leverage, or we also have our most exciting, I think, or at least what we're really known for in the industry at CivicScience, we've started to hear, which is our content. So on the one hand, our CEO, John Dick, every week writes an email on Saturday mornings called What We're Seeing. Started as a fun little thing just for some investors and some of our VIP clients, and has ballooned into something much more significant for us. And it's kind of our 30,000 foot view of the data set from the key person that started it all, right? Like, here are the main things that are occurring that we are seeing that usually act as a good launch pad for some of our clients to think about, like, all right, here's the stuff that's changed in the CivicScience data set. Let me go in and see how that applies to my business, right? And then the other stuff that we have are news and insights. We run our blog content like a newsroom, which is very exciting for our clients. It's one of the things that's made us an exciting brand in the industry. But as stuff happens, we immediately field information about it, and we immediately write about it. We have stuff up already about Elon Musk stepping down as Twitter's CEO and how Twitter users feel about it, right? That's all happened in the last 48 hours. But if you're a social media manager or you're running your media budget and you want to know how that's going to impact the folks that maybe have experienced an exodus from Twitter, depending on what the political persuasion of your consumer is, you're going to want to know whether that's going to bring them back or whether they're staying off, and whether you want to invest your social media dollars somewhere else, right? Like, we are constantly capturing this stuff, and then what you're able to do is add the layer on top with our robust data set to understand how that specific trend relates back to your brand exactly. And so in about the 2 minutes that we have here, I want to show you guys a really quick kind of pre-baked example that I was working on this week for one of our retailer clients. And I think this is a really good example of how CivicScience's off-the-shelf capabilities can help with that agile, down and dirty research that sometimes we have found our best use case for some of our clients is we save them money, because we have this data off the shelf so that we can address things as they come up before they commission the $50,000 survey and study that isn't really going to show them anything. So we had something this week come up where, and this has been in the news as well, so I imagine there are folks on this call that maybe have thought about this, whether or not concern over increased crime and violence in the news and in certain areas of the country is impacting in-store shopping, right? So the first thing that we can do is we can look at a dashboard that correlates to our weekly social and political and economic concern report to see overall, before we even think about crime and violence specifically, how is concern about being in public spaces relative to earlier in the pandemic, right? Here's a question that's been running since March of 2020. So that we can measure on an ongoing basis the fluctuations that were occurring with concern over coronavirus, and where, if at all, they fluctuate now and why, right? Or the next thing that I could do is look specifically at this question. How concerned are you right now about crime and violence in your community? We've had over 2 million people answer this question over the past 10 years. So our sample size is robust, to say the least. Right? And we can, in fact, measure and track that, yes, over the past 2 years, since that news has increased about increased crime and violence, that blue line of people very concerned has also increased exponentially, right? But that doesn't prove anything, right? It just proves that people are more concerned about it. So what about this question? About whether or not people have purchased anything in person at a store in the last 3 months. That then I can come in and compare actual stated consumer behaviors with a question about urbanicity, right? Where I can show that, yes, strangely enough, considering the fact that in-store shopping in cities is usually higher, we do see that people that are shopping in store in the last 3 months are less likely to live in a city, right? And then finally, kind of the feather in the cap, so you can really just drive it home if you need to. You can go ahead and look and say, yes, the people that say they are very concerned about crime and violence in their community are in fact over-indexing for saying, no, I have not shopped in the store in the next 90 days. Right? So within 24 hours of our client request, we were able to come back and not just say, here's how many people are worried about it, or here's how many people say they're less likely to shop in a store, but to provide the trend line, the cultural context to say, yeah, we're not hallucinating this. Things are changing. Here's how it has been changing over the past many, many months. And now here is exactly how today it is manifesting this quarter for your next earnings report. Here's what you got to be worried about. Let's make a strategy, right? So that's the power of the technology at CivicScience and the speed and scale that we get. There's so much more within the Insight Store that I can show you with segments and reports, but I know we're at time. We want to save for Q&A, but there's a really exciting stuff happening here at the company as we kind of continue to build on our once-in-a-lifetime database that we've created with this real-time data and how we present it to our clients.
Thanks, Casey. Nice job.
I will turn it over to Zach and Bridget here for Q&A. I should have ended that by saying that too.
Awesome. Thank you, Zach and Casey, for all of this super great information. We do have a few minutes for Q&A. So to kick it off, if respondents are not paid to participate, are there incentives or are they incentivized to continue to come back in and keep participating in another way?
Yes. Essentially, the way that they are incentivized is a really good question, because we always get that. Like, why do people answer your questions? Because we don't do page takeovers. We don't force anyone to answer. They are incentivized two different ways. We have UX designers that are working to always improve the widget experience itself. So it's very inviting for respondents to answer with us. But then this is like the fun research geek part of it. We show people the results of their answers. And through some white papering we did about 6 or 7 years ago, we found that psychologically, that's actually why a lot of people answer questions online, not just ours, is they like to see how their opinions stack up to the rest of the public.
Mm-hmm.
And we also gamify it by having a fun fact in there. If you answered in this way, you like MLB over NHL. And we always start our series of questions with what we call an engagement question. That's about a topic that's happening. We have a whole team of engagement writers. We actually had a press release that we've now leveraged AI to write some of those engagement questions so that they're more tailored towards what the theme of that site is, or even the article that they're reading. And what that does is it engages them, it sucks them in, because now they want to share on the pop culture element of it, but it also unbiased the data for the rest of the questions that we're going to ask from a brand or category standpoint.
Awesome, thank you. We do have time for one more question. Do you sell your platform by seat, and do you have any kind of managed services if we need it done for us versus DIY?
Yeah, so we do not sell it by seat. It's kind of an enterprise solution, which a lot of people like, because if you buy the platform, many people in your company, as you want, can use it. So we have HR teams using it. We have CFOs using it to put together their quarterly, earnings report criteria. And then we've got marketers, innovation teams, social and digital teams. So a lot of people are using this, which we're excited about. We also do have a managed service team that can do ad hoc projects, as they need them done. So we have that kind of professional services version. If you just have a quick project that you need done right now in the next week or two, we can knock it out in a couple of days for you.
Awesome. We are out of time, but thank you both so much for all the great information. If you have any other questions, make sure to reach out to Zach or Casey. Zach did put his email in the chat, so make sure to look at it there if you're interested. And that concludes our tech showcases for today. I hope that everyone has a really great weekend, and thank you so much for tuning in.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
everybody.
Have a good weekend.